Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to this presentation. Thank you for being here. This is Industry 4.0 Micro-Credentials, easy, inexpensive, and industry endorsed. My name is Joe Russo, and I'm with Klein Educational Systems. So let's get started. I'm here to tell you about SACA, Smart Automation Certification Alliance. It's a nonprofit organization, and they develop Industry 4.0 certifications. So third party, we actually don't represent them. We just talk highly about them. And so their job is to do Industry 4.0 certifications. And what I like most about these is they are highly affordable and accessible. Big deal. And I tell you that because I was a teacher in the classroom, and I'll get more into that in a little bit about why that's so important. So Industry 4.0 credentials that are highly affordable and accessible. I'm going to show you a brief snippet of a video here. This is actually on the SACA website if you want to see it, but I'm going to talk a little bit about what Industry 4.0 really is so that we're on the same page about what this means. I'm going to skip ahead.
Steam engine has continued mass production and automation. 250 years later, we've now entered the fourth industrial revolution, where the fusion of emerging technologies.
So here, come on.
SACA provides credentials to help with mass fusion of emerging.
We have here a snippet of a video. We have an animation in the background, and what you see is robots performing some task on these parts. You see conveyor belts. You see PLCs over here. That's a PLC right there. And we see a light bar here for good, bad, or weight. And so this is a general looking manufacturing cell that we would see in any sort of manufacturing environment. But what I'm pointing out, the robots, the conveyors, the PLCs, that's all very much Industry 3.0, or typically what we call that mechatronics. So mechatronics being very explanatory, mechanical systems, electrical systems, and automation, all kind of put together. And this is where every program tends to start. You have to know what a conveyor is doing before you hook it up to the cloud. You have to kind of know how robots work. You have to know how PLC works, motors, electrical. Those are all our kind of our standard bread and butter things that we're going to be teaching at first. And then Industry 4.0 is really the connecting of these devices, these standard mechanical, electromechanical devices, to the internet. So the same way we went from a regular phone to a smartphone, we're going from a regular manufacturing cell to a smart manufacturing cell. The cell still does the same thing. So in this example, just pretend we're talking about phone calls only. Okay, so phone calls are still going up. That's still the phone part of it, or the manufacturing part of it. Robots, conveyors, processes, drilling, buffing, cutting, packaging, etc. Little computers, PLCs telling everything what to do. That is standard. That was before and is still now. But the difference is these devices are now all connecting to the internet, and they are sending data or information over to management, technicians, etc., for them to watch the productivity, make sure things are being made correctly, and also alerting them for when there's an issue happening. So if, let's say, some of these motors inside the robot are starting to get a little too hot, there could be a sensor inside of there that's setting it up to the internet, setting it up to the cloud. People are getting that information. They're going, wait a minute, these motors are getting a little bit hot. That means there's a current issue, and that means we need to replace the motors on this robot soon during downtime, so that way it's ready to go and it doesn't break during the middle of a manufacturing cycle. We replace it when it's down, not when it's supposed to be running. So that is Industry 4.0. It is all of your standard manufacturing things, but done connected to the internet, connected to the cloud, and sending information to everybody in real time. So a little bit more about SACA before I go on. They are endorsed by a wide range of companies. This is not just something that came out of nowhere. This is an industry endorsed credential made by some of the biggest countries in the country. Ashley Furniture, Rockwell is a major partner. Hershey. This is a very well endorsed company by a lot of big manufacturers in the country. My story, real quick. I was a high school instructor. I taught automation. And one of the biggest challenges in being a high school instructor in CTE is that every CTE teacher should end with a credential. So our goal is we're going to teach them stuff, whatever that is, welding, HVAC, automotive, or in my case, automation. And by the time they're done with their course of study, typically 2 years, they can walk out with some sort of intro level credential. Well, there aren't that many credentials in the manufacturing world. And if there are those credentials in the manufacturing world, they tend to be very, very thorough, a lot of information, to the point where I, as a high school teacher teaching 14, 15, and 16-year-olds, it would, if I was going to teach them all the information they needed for those other credentials, they would have been overwhelmed. They would have not liked the class, and they would have dropped out. I would have lower enrollment, which then hurts the program, which why we even started in the first place. So, I mean, I think I did a very good job in the class. I mean, I'm a little biased in that matter, but my goal is to give the students the knowledge they need in how to do electrical, how to do pneumatics, how to do robotics, etc. That we have talked about that, but also to keep it fun and engaging. And so, but by keeping it fun and engaging, doing projects, having them tinker, that that's what got them excited. But that wasn't getting, but that got them excited about the course, but it wasn't enough time to get them the information they needed to pass a test. Plus, every year I mean, hopefully I had a nice budget. Perkins came every year, so that was good. But I never knew if I was going to test them at the end. I had to think about that ahead of time and how much money was I going to allocate to testing at the end of the year. So if the test was expensive, so it would be very thorough and very expensive. I couldn't get to the end of the year with any money. I mean, I would have to spend all my money on testing as opposed to getting new equipment, repairs, consumables, etc. So and that's why I told you about SACA, highly affordable and accessible. So let's talk about this a little bit. So I touched on this already a little. These certificates cover a lot of content. Certificates tend to cover a lot of content. So once again, do I teach the test to get the content out, or do I give the students a better learning experience? And certificates tend to be expensive. So I just described these two things in my high school teaching experience, and my answer is SACA is the answer to both these issues. So like when we're looking at the basic certificate from SACA, Associate Level 1, 38 lessons. Those lessons are broken down in about 1 hour theory and 1 hour lab. So we have 99 standards we're going to cover, 90 of theory, 94 standards of lab. And so we're talking about approximately 76 hours of class time. I think so 76 hours is barely a semester. You factor in high school, all those high school things, the first 2 weeks of the move and shuffle where you're covering very little content because you're just waiting for the class rosters to settle. You have pep rallies, you have testing, you have midterms, you have minimum days, you have all those other high school things. I mean, I know by the book we say 76 hours. I would say to cover all the content, you're talking more between 100 and 120 because of the pace of high school. An hour of class in high school isn't necessarily an hour of learning. I mean, you have setup and breakdown every day. That could be 10 minutes setup, 10 minutes breakdown. And so now you're only really talking 40 minutes a day, but even though it's an hour of class. So, but still, we have 180 hours in the year. And for this associate level 1, we can cover it in like 100 hours, maybe 120, depending on the level of your students. So plenty of time to get all the content in and have time at the end of the semester to do projects, to do Skills USA, to do any of those extra things that you would like to do with your class that would help encourage, enlighten, make it fun with them. So you are able to cover all the content you need in a reasonable amount of time and yet still get those other things in that you've always wanted to, as opposed to, there are other credentials that may say, oh, it takes 180 hours to get through this. Well, 180 hours is a school year. Well, if you take out all the things I said, pep rallies, minimum days, testing, blah, 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 everything else, you don't have 180 hours. You're supposed to, but you really only have like 130. So now with this, we are able to cover all the content and do the extra things that we're supposed to do. So that's awesome. That is, I can now teach I can now teach the stuff I need to, and also cover the material in the way that, and do the things that I want to as well. And so the kids are getting a valuable learning experience and they're getting a credential. As you can see in associate level 1, we're still doing the basics. I mean, like I said, it's really nice to talk about industry 4.0 and connecting to the cloud and all those, network security. But in the beginning, we start learning basic manufacturing principles: safety, hand tools, measurement, print reading, fluid power, AC/DC. These things are their kind of our bread and butter. Like I said, what is a robot? What is a sensor? So at first, they are gaining the skills in all those industry 3.0 skills before they take on the 4.0 skills. Also with SACA, so SACA, you have time. I just said this right now. I said it a second ago. You have time to do projects, you have time to do Skills USA, and you have time to retest. So if let's say you finish your whole course, you taught all the content you need in the first 100 hours, and 60% of your students pass. Well, you have plenty of time to retest, to reteach, and retest the other 40%, as opposed to finishing your content on May 25th and school ends on June 1st. Now now you're stressed out. I taught them, I tested them. Now we have to like cram in the rest. No, you have time to go over everything again, reteach in the labs if you have to, and then redo the material. So time is a big factor here. Time is always against us as teachers. And I feel like when they designed this, they were really putting the teacher and the classroom at the center of this and saying, what can they really do and what skills they really need to know, and let's just focus on those things, the core, the basics, and let the teachers do their job. Cost. I told you before, some places charge per test. So you're spending a lot of money on just testing. I mean, there are times my Perkins budget was $5,000 and the testing organization was $49.95. So my whole budget was for testing. But not anymore. The cost for this is $500 per high school or $1,000 per district if you have multiple high schools. So, I mean, that's fantastic. You can actually test and certify many students for what would be, dollars per student, maybe even less than $1 per student, depending on how many you have. Once again, we're thinking about students here. Students have test anxiety. Sometimes they need to see it a few times. Unlimited retakes, and so there's like a caveat there. Like if you test on Monday, then you can't test on Tuesday. I think you have to test on, you have to wait a couple days. But in general, take the test, certain number fail, reteach them, go over the stuff they struggled with, retest them again that week, maybe the next week, and then keep that funnel going until everyone passes. And then you can walk around saying that you have a 100% pass rate, which is fantastic. Here are the courses that you can certify with SACA. So course 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can see, I'm just going to be hitting on a few of these topics here. So you can see the topics include, this is what I had a few slides ago. These are the basics. You can see we continue with the basics, mechanical drives, hydraulics, pneumatics. But now we're starting to get a little more industry 3.0, 4.0, in Ethernet network communications, programmable controllers. So we're starting up that level. We're going to get into some robotics. And then you can see by the time you finish with all these certs, we're talking data analytics, barcode identification, Ethernet networks 2, RFID, system optimization. So, I mean, by the time we're done, if you carry it through to every course and finish the whole thing, not only will your students have multiple certifications, this is a cert, this is a cert, there are certs here, this is a cert, but by the time they're done, they're gaining, basic level skills in Ethernet network communications, which is highly valuable in the manufacturing world today, because every manufacturers are moving to a more smart environment. So it's content rich. It is the content you need to know, but it is also set up in a way that students can get multiple certs, stackable certifications, teaching them the stuff they need to know. So that's what I just pointed out right here a second ago. You can see some of these topics here: robotics, programmable controllers, data analytics. What I'm trying to say is there are topics in here that are very much industry 4.0 centered, not just AC/DC with a little bit of extra. No, I mean, we are getting into the heart of it, or at least beginning for a new beginning employee. What is this stuff? What do the data analytics look like? So when a sensor reads a part, what does that look like? in terms of how is that displayed and how do I know if things are going right or things are going wrong. And I've been talking a lot about high school because for this, but there's also community colleges and business. So I would say that from a high school standpoint, you're probably going to be in the associate level. That's me saying probably just because of my experience. You're going to be teaching a lot of the basics, but an inch deep and a mile wide kind of thing. You're going over you're going over many different technologies to get them what they need to know. But there's also specialist certifications. So all of these topics, basically, I mean, not to go into it too much, but print reading or ACDC has a specialist certification. So you can get specialized training and certs in just ACDC, in just relay control, in just pneumatics, in just hydraulics. So if you want to go deeper into any one of those things, you can and get them a specialist certification because maybe your advisory committee is saying, listen, teaching them everything is good. We want them to know kind of how everything works, but we really just need them to know how to wire three-phase motors. Okay, motor control. Let's get them a cert in motors and motor control. Fine. And so you can focus that here. And the good news is you don't have to start here and go down and then move over. You can start anywhere. If you already have a program, maybe you already have it. Maybe you already have a 3-year pathway. You're just trying to cap it off with something. So you're teaching a manufacturing program. And really you just want to end it with something else, like you want to end it with a PLC certification because your local advisory committee was saying, listen, we integrate our machines with PLCs and robots. I would really like them to know just that part of it. We'll teach them the machining stuff, but it would be nice if they had that other part. You can start here right at the special certification, do PLCs, do robotics, and be done. You don't have to start here and move down and then go over and then move down and then go over. You can start any level, anywhere you want, and say either do breadth and depth, or inch deep, mile wide here, or very narrow and very deep for the special certifications. And so I would encourage you to talk to your community colleges if you have one close to you, because this is really what they want to be teaching. This may be an intro class to them, the associate level, but they want to get people who have a stronger knowledge, a larger depth of knowledge in some of these industries because they're going right into it. These are young adults, maybe incumbent workers. We got to get them to know everything about motors that they can to get them back to work so they can troubleshoot those. So here is just a listing of what those intermediate, this second level right here, what those look like. Motor control, sensors, programmable controllers, Industry 4.0, total productive maintenance. You can see the rest of the list. There's a big list, keeps on going, but a lot of intermediate micro credentials in case you want to focus on just one thing. These intermediate certs take about 40 hours of training. So if you want to get a cert in ACDC by itself, that's probably just gonna be 40 hours by itself. Okay, pneumatics 40 hours, hydraulics. It's all about 40 hours. So like I said before, that's great for community colleges, incumbent workers. Get them in, teach them sensors, get them out. Right, for your division of workforce development, your non-credit people. Get them into that one thing that people want and get them out, and then string those all together and then maybe make it into associates. And then, or as a specialty subject in high school. So maybe you want to go real deep into PLC, that's cool, do that. You could just teach the PLC cert. So this is just going over this again. But not to forget, cybersecurity, we hear about the hacks all the time. Hackers are now going after manufacturers. And so cybersecurity is not just about big tech in Silicon Valley. It's everywhere now. And so to be able to say that they have a basic knowledge of cybersecurity in a manufacturing environment, they're going to be so valuable. And then you can even partner with your IT department if you're teaching information technology, and maybe work with them a little bit and we'll do a little cross training because they're going to be learning basic networking, Ethernet connections, that kind of stuff, because they need to understand that going into this environment, that they need to protect their data for their machines that are cutting, producing, packaging, etc. So that's it. This is my name, Joe Russo, my phone number and my email address. I work with the states of Arizona and Nevada, but you are more than welcome to call me, email me, even if you're not from those areas. I'm happy to help. Please reach out. Thank you for attending. Please let me know if you have any questions. Have a good day.